We live in an era where everyone is talking, nonstop. Every thought is posted, every opinion shared, every private moment turned into public content, all in Ultra HD detail. But have you noticed something? The people who feel the most powerful, magnetic, and rooted, they speak less. They don't broadcast everything. They guard their truths like sacred fire. Carl Jung, the pioneer of analytical psychology, didn't just study behavior. He explored the unseen layers of the human spirit. And one of his most powerful revelations was this: until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. There are things you can say too soon, too openly, or to the wrong person, and those truths, once spoken, get distorted, misunderstood, or even used against you. Most dangerously, they lose their sacred power. So this isn't a video about silence as a social strategy. This is about silence as energetic protection, as spiritual discipline, as an act of inner mastery in a world drowning in noise. Stay with me to the end, and you'll understand why withholding certain truths isn't about hiding. It's about elevating. We'll unpack 6 invisible truths that, if shared too carelessly, can unravel your mental clarity, disturb your soul's momentum, and pull chaos into your life instead of peace. Let's begin. 1. Never reveal what you see in someone's shadow. You've seen it before. Someone you care about is caught in a toxic pattern, a self-defeating loop. You want to help. You think, if I just show them gently, they'll understand. But Jung would caution you, the shadow is not something you can hand to someone on a silver platter. It's a confrontation that must come from within. The shadow, the repressed, hidden part of a person who is guarded by defense mechanisms. If you point it out before someone is ready, you don't create healing. You create shame, denial, and distance. This is why your well-meaning insights often fall flat, or worse, trigger a defensive wall. Transformation only happens when the psyche is prepared to receive the truth. So even if you see it clearly, even if your intuition is screaming, stay silent. Not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to let others walk their own path toward awakening. 2. Don't explain why you walked away. We feel the urge to explain ourselves when we end a connection. But often, the real reason you pulled back has nothing to do with drama. It's energy. You outgrew something. You evolved. And sometimes clinging to the old would be a betrayal of your new self. Jung believed that as you individuate, become more whole, you shed what no longer fits. And trying to explain that kind of shift to someone who operates from ego is an invitation for misunderstanding, manipulation, or guilt. This is not ghosting, it's energetic closure. When you try to explain a soul-level decision to someone who's not equipped to hear it, they pull you back into their emotional storm. But you don't need to defend your peace in a courtroom of chaos. Let silence hold the boundary. Let your absence speak your truth. 3. Keep your quiet kindness to yourself. In a world obsessed with being seen, doing good anonymously is an act of rebellion. But it's also the most powerful thing you can do. Jung taught that the path to individuation, to becoming your higher self, requires you to break free from needing applause. When you do something kind without witnesses, you align with the divine. The moment you post it or brag about it, the purity is diluted. It's no longer spiritual. It becomes a transaction with your ego. And worse, it feeds the persona, the mask we wear to be liked instead of being true. Your soul doesn't need validation. It needs integrity. That time you helped without expecting credit, that was real. That was sacred. Let your higher self hold the memory. Let the universe keep score, not social media. 4. Protect your dreams while they're still growing. There's a reason seeds grow in the dark. Before your vision becomes reality, it's fragile. If you speak about it too early, you invite opinions, doubts, envy, all of which dilute your inner fire. Carl Jung redefined libido not just as sexual drive, but as psychic life force, the creative energy behind all your ideas. When you talk about your dreams too soon, you leak that energy. You disperse the focus it needs to manifest. Think back to a time you shared a big goal and someone reacted with cold politeness, or worse, subtle skepticism. That feeling of deflation. It wasn't your dream dying, it was your psychic energy scattering. Just like a baby needs the womb, your dream needs quiet nurturing. Silence is not secrecy, it's sovereignty. Protect your creations. Let them root before they rise. 5. Think twice before judging someone out loud. It may seem harmless to comment on someone's flaws, but Jung would remind you, what you say about others reveals more about you. Everything that irritates us about others, he said, can lead to an understanding of ourselves. In other words, your judgment is often your shadow speaking. When you criticize someone, especially in gossip or venting, you're projecting your own wounds, fears, and insecurities. And that projection doesn't just disappear. It echoes. It becomes gossip. It comes back twisted. Suddenly, you're being quoted in rooms you never entered, framed in stories you never agreed to. Self-aware people see this. They won't confront you, but they'll take note. Because when you speak about others, you show your own reflection, not theirs. Before you speak, pause. Is this truth, or is this my shadow leaking out? 6. Guard the sacred details of your relationship. Love needs privacy to grow. In moments of conflict, it's tempting to vent. But every time you expose the private world of your relationship, you invite others into sacred space, and that weakens it. Carl Jung saw the romantic union as alchemical, the dance of the masculine and feminine within and between us. That bond is powerful, but only when protected. When you overshare, even with well-meaning friends, you fracture the intimacy. They give advice from outside your journey. They don't have the full context, but they plant seeds of doubt. And energetically you shift focus from growth to flaws, from possibility to problems. You start rehearsing the negatives instead of nourishing the bond. Venting is okay. To a therapist, in a journal, or during meditation. But don't let sacred love bleed into public commentary. What's private transforms. What's overexposed withers. Now take a breath. This wasn't just a list of don'ts. It's a map for keeping your energy whole in a world that thrives on fragmentation. Carl Jung didn't teach us to perform or pretend. He taught us to integrate, to become whole. And wholeness requires silence. Because silence isn't a void. It's power. It's clarity. It's maturity. When you don't reveal someone's shadow, you respect their soul's pace. When you don't justify your exit, you honor your growth. When you keep your good deeds quiet, you amplify their sacredness. When you protect your dreams, you fuel their fire. When you avoid careless judgment, you free yourself from illusion. And when you guard your love, you strengthen its alchemy. These aren't rules. They're disciplines. They're acts of energetic mastery. And the deeper your self-awareness grows, the less you'll need to explain yourself to anyone. So next time you're tempted to share one of these 6 things, ask yourself, is this serving my highest self or feeding my wounded one? If this message resonated with you, send it to someone who's ready to reclaim their peace. Drop a comment below. Which of the 6 spoke loudest to your soul? Which one have you learned the hard way? And if you're walking the path of self-awareness, healing, and energetic alignment, subscribe to Fractal Wisdom, where your soul finds language. Thank you for being here. Now go, protect your magic.